Hey team, good morning, happy Monday, hope you're well, hope you've had a good weekend. I wanted to drop in today. I'm just walking down to Starbucks to do some work. I always find that when I change the environment and I pay £4.50 for a cup of coffee, I tend to get a lot of work done. So as I'm walking down, I wanted to share a few ideas with you today about the fear of being judged, the worry of being judged, being scared of being judged, being worried about what people think about you, especially when walking into a new place. For example, we get a lot of people that worry about when they join us, they're going to be judged because they're out of shape, they're going to be judged because they are unfit. And obviously, general day-to-day life, we can often play small, shrink ourselves down to avoid certain situations that make us feel uncomfortable because we fear judgment. And some of this today might land with you and you might agree with it. You might think, that makes sense. And some of it you might disagree with. And I'd obviously love to hear that. I welcome your ideas and feedback and thoughts on this. Do me a little favour, if you're watching it, just hit the thumbs up. I've no idea how long we'll actually get together because for some reason my phone signal just keeps cutting off. So this might end up being something I do at home later. Anyway, a couple ideas for you. Whenever we're feeling that we are being judged by others, or we fear that we will be judged, I think there's a difference between actually being judged and there being physical evidence, and the kind of worry that it might happen, or the worry that it's happening when it might actually not be. And what we've got to consider is that a lot of the time, the first thing that we've got to question is whether we are judging ourselves. Now, that might sound a little bit odd considering we're talking about other people judging us, but just ask yourself, whenever you fear being judged, is it you that is judging yourself, that has this negative self-talk in here, and you're then projecting it onto others? See, a lot of the time in the past, when I were worried that others were judging me, what if they think I'm out of shape? What if they think I'm not good enough? What if they think I'm not strong enough? What if they think I'm ugly? Or what if they think A, B, C, and D? What if they reject me? What if they don't love me? What if they whatever? What I was really doing was saying, I think I'm out of shape. I think I'm not good enough. I think that I'm not strong enough. I think that I'm not good looking enough. I think that I'm not worthy. I think that I don't fit in their group. Just give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. And then I'm projecting it onto other people. And I'm making assumptions that that's what they're thinking because that's what I think of me. Well, if that's what I think of me, of course others are going to think it about me. The problem with this is we end up kind of in this mind game where we make assumptions that other people are judging us. Other people do have this opinion. And it's kind of just made up. We're in fairy tale land. But the problem is, the more we think that that's what other people are thinking about us, the more we think that others are judging us, well, that doesn't make us feel very warm towards those people, so we end up closing down, we become standoffish, we take a step back, we don't open ourselves up, and what that really does is that just perpetuates more doubt about the fact that they're judging us, because what do? We act weird. We act in a way that's unnatural because we think that they're judging us, so we close off, so we give them reason to actually judge us. Oh, that person... that person doesn't want to talk to us, that person doesn't want to get involved. And you've kind of, originally, they were well open to receiving you as you are. Because of your fear of them judging you, you've closed down, and all of a sudden, maybe they aren't as open to welcoming you because there's something about your aura or your energy or your presence that kind of stays closed off and shut down. Just thumbs up if that makes sense. Second thing to understand is that a lot of the time in life, what I realised is when I was fearing that people were judging me, I was actually judging others. And that's quite difficult to admit. I think a lot of us, I spent a lot of years, I've worked through it in therapy about this perfect Pete persona, that I'm perfect and I never get shit wrong, and that, I'm always nice and A, B, and C, but I'm a human being. I judge people. And here's the other thing. So this comes in two parts. Firstly, I want to ask you, how often do you judge others? How often do you look someone up and down at what they're wearing and kind of make a comment in your head and make an assumption, make a judgment on them? Here's what I learned. The less that I did it towards others, the less that I felt others were judging me. The more I looked at someone else and thought about their positive qualities, well, if I'm seeing positives in others, then others must be seeing positives in me, right? It was just about reconditioning, reprogramming and retraining my brain. So this might sound crazy, and it's so weird for me to admit this, but I'm okay with it, is I would sit in a coffee shop looking out into town, and a bloke might walk past with a weird backpack, and I'd be like, why is he wearing that weird backpack to town? Why would you even do that? And I would never say this out loud to the person next to me or the people I'm with. But when I'm sat there alone, I'm like, why is he wearing them shoes? Or why has she chose to wear that bloody purple cardigan today? And it sounds crazy because I'd never say it out loud. I would never say it to the person. But I would say it in my own head. And I weren't even aware I was doing it. I weren't being cynical. I weren't purposely trying to pull the person down. But when I became aware of it, I really started to dislike it. And what I started to do instead was look for the positive in that person. So when I'd see someone with, you know, a pair of shoes I might not like, I'd go, you know what, he's really rocking them. They actually suit him. Or I'd be like, look how confident she looks wearing that purse or that handbag or whatever. And I start to look for the positive in them. And what I start to realise is the more that I looked for positives in others, supported others, and was less judgmental, even on an unconscious level, even without giving it any conscious attention, you know, sitting there and kind of being consciously aware, what I started to realise is I felt like people were judging me less. Thumbs up if that makes sense. And what we've got to understand is that our attitude towards the world will often dictate the world's attitude towards us. And our attitude can be made up of three things: your thoughts, your feelings, and actions. So if your thoughts, feelings, and actions towards others are quite negative, you have negative thoughts, you have negative feelings, and maybe you even have some form of negative action, you will always feel that that's what you get back. Life is often just a mirror. It's a mirror of our internal world. Your external world is a mirror of your internal world. And it has to start by changing the inside. So yeah, we can do things and act in a way and pray and cross our fingers that people are nice, or we can start being nice internally and externally and have that reflected back to us. And the last thing that I kind of want to share with you, give me a thumbs up if this has been helpful so far, by the way, and if it hasn't, that's totally cool as well. Maybe this last bit will. There's two last little bits actually, as there always is. The first one is that you're going to be judged. You are. You are, because it's human nature to do that. And if we think back to hundreds of years ago when we lived in caves, of course we judged people. Especially, you know, imagine going out into the desert and there was some tribesmen coming past on the horses with hoods up and masks on and knives in the hands. You wouldn't look to the positive and go, oh, that's a nice horse he's on, or that's a nice mask he's wearing, or that's a really nice sharp dagger. I bet that was expensive and it took him a lot of hours to kind of craft that. Of course you wouldn't. You'd be instantly looking for the negative. Why? Because it's a protective mechanism. And somewhere in our brain, we look at social hierarchy and automatically look to others to see whether we are higher or lower on that social hierarchy. That's not something that we sit there and, ponder over and kind of give it thought before we act and give it thought before we judge people. We just do it. It's part of who we are. So as much as I've just said I sit in the coffee shop and I consciously choose the positives in the people that are walking past, I'm not going to pretend that I've got it all sussed out, because on a very basic human nature level, it's wired into us to look for the negatives in people, judge them to make sure that our environment is safe and that we're going to be okay and this person isn't a threat. Isn't a threat physically, or often in today's world, socially. Thumbs up if that makes sense. So sometimes we just have to accept that we're going to be judged. And we have to accept that we're going to be judged, but here's the kicker, and this is the bit that I kind of like from that. There's the kind of judged where it's the unconscious judging that happens because it's human nature to protect ourselves, and then there's the physical judging where someone walks in a room and, someone new walks in a room and you kind of have someone that turns to the pal and go, oh, look at that bitch, or look at that dickhead, or look at A, B and C. Well, here's the thing that we've got to do. We've got to separate the difference between judgment on a survival level. It's instinctive, it's instant, and sometimes we're not aware of it. And then we've got to look at judgment that's based on seeing people in a negative light and doing it, I guess, not doing it in a wrong way, but doing it somewhat maliciously. Maybe judging them to make you feel better, or they judge you to make them feel better. And this is what we've got to understand. If you fear being judged, what you are fearing is someone that has a negative idea about the world or themselves, and they're projecting it onto you. So let's say someone did judge you. Let's say someone judged you and they told a mate, look at him, dickhead, look at her, what's she doing? All that is a them problem. That's not a you problem. So if you were judged, let's say you had a speaking event at work and you had to stand up in front of 100 people and you were shaking and you were sweating and you were nervous and you were worried. Well, that would be normal and natural, and 99% of the population would feel the same as you. In fact, most people would never put themselves in your shoes. And let's imagine that you're about to step up and you're quaking in your boots and you're worried and you're scared, you're nervous, you're anxious, you're going to forget your lines, your palms are sweating, your shirt's soaked or your dress is drenched because you're sweating so much. If someone judges you in the crowd, that's a them problem, not a you problem. If you're doing a 10k race, a Tough Mudder, a competition, an event, a High Rocks, and someone judges you, genuinely straight up, is a dickhead and judges you negatively and talks you down, that's a them problem. That's a them problem, not a you problem. So understand that you are going to be judged as human nature. But if you are judged in a way that is trying to pull you down, tear you down, without really knowing who you are, your story, without getting to know what's really going on in your life, if people really judge you in the real sense of it, that's a them problem. That's a them not feeling good about themselves. And at least if they judge you and pull you down and pick your bad spots, they get to feel better about themselves. I heard an amazing quote the other day. I can't remember who said it. It was a really famous quote, and it was about the fact that sometimes the only time that people will taste what it's like to be a winner is taking a bite out of you or wherever it were, you know, pulling you down to feel good about themselves. And I think sometimes in life we've just got to understand that the way people act towards us is rarely a reflection of us, but a reflection of themselves, how they see the world and how they see themselves. So I hope that helped. The next time you're fearing being judged, understand sometimes you will be. It's human nature. But a lot of the time when you are judged, most of the time, and it's cynical and it's negative by the other person, it's a reflection of them. And understand that a lot of the time when we fear being judged, we are judging others. So of course we're going to fear judgment. The less you judge others consciously, over time you start to retrain, rewire, reprogram your brain to actually judge people less, and you naturally find that they judge you less, or your perception of whether they will judge you, because we don't know. We can't read minds on whether someone's judging us or not. You know, you could look at someone and be like, I feel like I'm being judged. Have you seen his face? And it turns out he's just got a resting bitch face and he looks like that all the time. You know, maybe he's squinting in the sun and you think that he's staring at you and kind of looking you up and down. A lot of the time it's our assumptions that kill. And I guess if I were to add one little nugget to finish, is the more we work on ourselves and our opinion of our own selves, so the opposite to judging ourselves is kind of loving ourselves, the more we focus on our good points, the more we focus on what we like about ourselves, the more we work on our confidence, the more we take action in the face of fear, worry and adversity, the more courage that we apply in life, what you tend to find is that really the only opinion that you should give a shit about in your life is your own. Yes, you want people to think highly of you. Yes, you want people to say nice things. And maybe if you know 1,000 people and 998 of them say shit about you, it might actually say something about you. You know, we do have to take personal responsibility here. But when you work on yourself enough, love yourself enough, trust yourself enough, and your self-confidence skyrockets, what you tend to find is that you don't give a shit about other people's opinions, because the one opinion that matters the most in life above all others is yourself. So the question I've got for you today, to wrap this up, is how do you feel about yourself? What opinion do you have about you? How do you see you? Because if you see yourself as a piece of shit that's worthless, that never follows through, that never sticks to the word, that's never consistent, that never looks after themselves, then you're going to ultimately perceive others seeing you that way, that you're a piece of shit, that never follows through, that never looks after themselves, that's got low self-worth. And the problem is, most of the time, that manifests in your reality. Because if you don't think you're worth anything, then others around you won't think you're worth anything. Think about that for a second. Often we do need other people around us to remind us of what we're worth and to pick us up when we're down. But ultimately, the world will give you back exactly what you put out. If you put out feelings of no confidence and worthlessness, and you act and behave like that, remember I talked about attitude, thoughts, feelings, actions. If you have the thoughts that you're not good enough and you're not worthy, and you act like you're not good enough and you're not worthy, and you behave like that, and you feel like that, well, that's the attitude you're putting out. That's what you're going to get back. You're going to have people that undervalue you, that walk all over you. And then we start blaming everyone else, and then we become a victim, and then we end up feeling powerless and hopeless and like we can't control this and do anything about it. And then we go, oh, it's not fair, everyone walks all over me. Yeah, because that's the signal you're putting out. Completely off topic about being judged, but kind of on topic as well, really, when you think about it. So if this was helpful, hit the thumbs up. If you've got a take home, something that, I don't know, maybe it rubbed you up the wrong way and you don't like something I've said, let me know. I'm always learning. I'm always seeing things differently. Equally, if this was helpful and you can see how to apply it, let me know. Drop a little message below. Because then what I see is that this is valuable and it's worth doing more of these videos, so I'll do more, and then we all benefit. Or drop me a message on WhatsApp. But I would love to think that this impacted you even a little bit today. Cool. Have a good one. I have walked in circles to do this. I'm 3 minutes from Starbucks and I've dragged this out somehow. So, extra steps. Have a good one, team. Have a great week. See you soon.